Remember when people got angry over 9% Rolex price jumps? Well, welcome to 31% price increases. Welcome back to Doug's Watches, the Thinking Watch channel, and today I'm going to have to put on my international trade hat. This is not a video I ever thought I'd have to make, but I have quite a lot of American viewers, so here we are. Donald Trump's tariffs are shaking up the watch industry, and not just for Swiss watches. We're talking about German watches from Glashütte, Japanese watches from brands like Seiko and Citizen, and of course, we need to ask what's going to happen to Trump's own line of Swiss-made watches. But before we do that, let's get everyone up to speed on tariffs to a simple level at least. A tariff is a tax imposed on imported goods, typically aimed at protecting domestic industries by making foreign products a bit more expensive than their domestic competition. Trump's justification for these new tariffs is based on his long-standing view that the US has been taken advantage of in global trade. He argues that imposing tariffs on European, Japanese and Swiss-made goods will help bring manufacturing back to the US and create jobs. However, critics, which I am one of, say that tariffs often backfire by increasing costs for consumers and businesses, sparking trade wars and leading to retaliatory tariffs from other nations. Often countries will tariff individual goods, but as a broad stroke, never this far. Basically right now, everyone's business is faced by a large degree of uncertainty, and what Trump is actually doing beneath the claims of protecting American industries, who knows? But what we do know is that the watch world has taken a major hit today. But how do the tariffs impact the watch industry? As of April 3rd, 2025, the United States has implemented a series of new tariffs that directly impact imported watches. Swiss watches will now face a tariff of 31%. That's a 31% tariff on Swiss goods, so that will impact brands like Rolex, Omega, Patek Philippe, and of course Tag Heuer. So for perspective, that Submariner that now costs $9,100 with a tariff added on and paid for by the end consumer would cost nearly $12,000. So those brands that want to continue to operate in the United States are put into a rough position, absorb the tariff into their margin, or increase prices and lose out to more competitive domestic brands. Now it's worth saying that watch brands, especially the Swiss ones, do have some pretty healthy margins on their watches, so likely they could absorb the increased cost. But businesses have to decide and will be held accountable by shareholders who want to see their cut remain the same, if not increased year on year. German watches now will also face a tariff of 20%, so that is the 20% tariff on European Union imports, so that'll include renowned German brands like Allong & Söhne, Nomos Glashütte and Glashütte Original. Japanese watches now meet a 24% tariff as well, as that's the tariff on all goods from Japan, and that will affect brands like Seiko, Grand Seiko, Citizen, and of course our budget favourite Casio. These tariffs are in addition to existing duties. Under the US Harmonised Tariff Schedule, HTS codes 9101.11 and 9102.11 specifies duties on quartz watches with either base metal or precious metal cases depending on the HTS code. Now these add extra taxes for imports of these watches of 44 cents per unit, 6% on the case, 14% on the strap, and 5.3% on the battery. Countries often have taxes like this to protect their own industries, but such sweeping measures like Trump has introduced are unprecedented in recent history at least. The US is a crucial market for luxury watches. It's widely accepted that 16 to 20% of all Swiss watches end up going to the United States, making it the single largest market for Swiss watchmakers. For brands like Rolex and Omega, this means the US is not just an important part of their business, it is essential. With tariffs this high, the average cost of a Swiss luxury watch will increase significantly, potentially pushing more US consumers toward alternative markets like pre-owned watches or even American brands. Shares in European luxury companies dropped immediately after this announcement as investors reacted to a potential sales slump. Meanwhile, we can only imagine that the Swiss, German and Japanese brands are scrambling to figure out how to price their existing inventory without losing customers. American watch brands may stand to gain, as is Trump's intention, well guided or not, with Swiss, German and Japanese watches likely to become more expensive. US-based brands have an opportunity to capture more market share, at least on the affordable end. I see Bulova and Timex being viable alternatives to cheaper brands like Seiko or Citizen that are imported into the States. However, I would suggest that there isn't really a US domestic watch brand that could fill the void of luxury Swiss watches. So maybe the market won't change and consumers will just suck up the higher prices. After all, how many people spend their last 10 grand on a Rolex? Isn't half the kudos of luxury watches from how much they cost for some buyers at least, so maybe they won't see any negative market impact at all. However, maybe one American brand will rise. Timex are known for their affordability and durability. They could gain the budget-conscious consumers who are priced out of imported watches. If a Seiko automatic that once cost $300 suddenly jumps to $375 due to tariffs, buyers may look at Timex's growing mechanical lineup instead. Timex has been investing in more enthusiast-focused pieces over the past few years, such as their reissued Marlin series, which could make them a viable alternative for first-time or budget-focused buyers. Bulova are a historic American brand. They operate in the mid-tier segment usually, where Swiss dominance has long been unshakable, with entry-level Swatch Group brands taking most of the business there. A Bulova automatic, typically priced around $500, could now look more attractive compared to an entry-level Tissot or Hamilton, which we can expect to see price rises for. However, Bulova's challenge is that many of its watches are designed in New York but manufactured overseas, meaning some models could still be subject to tariffs, if not assembled in the US, that is. They may need to shift more production stateside to fully capitalise on the new landscape that Trump is trying to create here. And that's before Bulova fixed their often lacklustre marketing. Now, Hamilton were an American watch brand. Before they moved production to Switzerland, I never thought we'd see this, but potentially these tariffs open the door to the brand moving production back stateside. Although how long-standing Trump's tariffs will be is another story, and brands may just choose to weather out this. What about micro-brands then? American micro-brands are already thriving among watch enthusiasts who appreciate unique designs with smaller production runs and direct-to-consumer pricing benefits. Tariffs could make them even more competitive, especially for buyers who no longer want to pay premium prices for foreign-made watches. Brew Watches are a watch company that I speak an awful lot about on this channel. They are based in the States. I think if they were to double down and amp up production, they could gain an awful lot from Trump's tariffs. There are also other brands like the Weiss Watch Company and Shinola. The Weiss Watch Company is in arguably the best position to gain all of this. Its mechanical watches are almost entirely made in the US, and with Swiss watches becoming pricier, they may become a choice for American collectors. Shinola are known for their Detroit-based manufacturing, are well positioned as well to absorb this potential rise in demand. Their focus on heritage craftsmanship and local assembly gives them an advantage, especially within the rhetoric that the MAGA movement has been spreading for a long time now. Will tariffs actually help American brands is another matter though. While these US brands could see an increase in sales, the big question is whether they can scale production fast enough to meet a potential rise in demand. Swiss and Japanese brands have well-established supply chains and prestige that American brands, especially micro brands, can't easily replicate overnight. If buyers don't find what they want domestically, they may still pay any extra costs that a preferred international brand demands. Ultimately, these tariffs create opportunities, but they don't guarantee success for any American watchmakers, nor do they guarantee any success for any individual American industry. They will still have to work for whatever market gains they get. Brands that can quickly adapt, expand production, and refine their offerings will be the ones that gain the most. And most importantly, what about Trump watches? Now this is where this gets interesting. Donald Trump has his own Trump watches line, which despite its branding is Swiss made. But for now, it looks like Trump's own business, or at least one that bears his name, could take a hit from his trade policies. These tariffs stand to reshape the global watch industry. While luxury watchmakers scramble to adjust, American brands have a rare chance to capitalise on shifting consumer practices. Will we see a surge in American watchmaking? Who knows? Will Swiss brands shift strategies or just absorb these tariffs? We're going to see shortly. And will Trump watches survive their own creators' policies? I certainly hope not. One thing's for sure, the watch world just got a little bit more complicated, and I'm sure some people in Switzerland, Japan, and La Chute are going to have a few sleepless nights. Let me know in the comments what you think about these tariffs and whether they'll change the way you buy your watches. And as always, like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more insights on Doug's Watches, the Thinking Watch channel. Special thanks to my channel supporters, including Dr. Kevin Moore. If you want a shout out like that, do make sure to hit the join button below. I'll see you next time.